Hello. Hello. It says we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the first time that I've done a live session in about 3 weeks. So, welcome back. I'm just going to wait for people to start tuning in. If anybody's going to start tuning in. And I'm going to pull up the live feed on my phone so I can see people's questions. What I'd like to do is to read the comments as comments come in, and I like to answer it, and it becomes a really nice back and forth, just hanging out, and we can crack on. Okay, I can see everybody's questions. What I like to do when I start off is just say, hey, I'm tuning in from London. I'm based in London. Where are you tuning in from? It's always nice to know where people are listening from. And we're going to kick things off right away. I'm going to move this down here, organize some stuff. What I should really do is get a different, what do you call it? A second screen. Would be great to hide all of that stuff behind the scenes. And that means I can do it all off screen. Anyway, that's by the by. In the session today, we're going to carry on with the picture you can see in your top left-hand corner. I've got that set up in front of me, and we're just going to carry on painting it. I think this is the fifth painting session that we've had. And we've got, let's do a quick recap, because is my Apple Pencil not connected? Apple Pencil, 0%. That's the first time ever that my Apple Pencil has been on 0%. So we're going to chat a little bit just while that starts to charge. And what we can do is we can go in and see where all this began, because we started off with our very rough pencil sketch, and we did this in one session. This is the way that it started off. Hey, Eric, tuning in from the Philippines. Thank you so much for tuning in. So yeah, we had the pencil sketch, that really rough, and there's a few mistakes in this that we fixed in later episodes, and that turned into a more refined sketch. And what I did was I actually had some guide marks that lined up on here just to make sure that I had the right type of fillet, the right type of facets on this coffee maker. And what you'll see is I actually completely missed off a whole facet when I first started sketching it. So I had to go back, resketch it, add it in the refined sketch, and make sure that we had, and you can see that I was actually counting. I had to physically add the numbers onto the sketch, so I knew that we had the right amount of fillets and facets. So based on that, I've then gone in and we've got things like the watch face that I've really gone in to add a lot of detail in, and use a lot of rulers and smart ellipses to make it really nice and clean. But everything else has been pretty much freehand. And then I've been trying to keep everything that I've been painting on one layer. Now, for digital sketching, for digital painting, there is nothing stopping you from using as many layers as you want. And last week, I accidentally painted the table slightly wrong. Not last week, but the session before. I accidentally painted the table wrong. And if I'd have used multiple layers, then it would have meant that I could just go back in, change the thing that I needed to change, and then use that layer and carry on. But because I've decided to try and treat this as more of a physical, real painting, I've been trying to put everything on one layer. It's meant that I've had to repaint things in the same way that I would need to paint things in real life. So if I make a mistake, I have to paint over it and start again. How long does it take for an Apple Pencil to charge? Does anybody know? Thank you for tuning in. For those who are just tuning in, I started to go to paint, and it says that my Apple Pencil is on 0% battery, which is the first time that that's ever happened. In the meantime, while we wait for that to charge up, I want to show you, I've actually bought a 3D printer, and that's arrived this week. I'm an industrial designer. I design things for the physical world. I design physical items, and I've never had access to a 3D printer apart from sending files off, paying for their printers with other companies. So I decided to get one myself, and I've been testing out the prints, and I've printed this little. Oops. I've printed this little Pikachu. I don't know how close the camera can zoom in. But as I'm starting to test things out and I'm starting to refine the print quality and hone in on all the settings, I think I'm starting to get some really nice prints. And this is only the third or fourth thing that I've printed off. So yeah, if you folks are interested in my journey into becoming a 3D printed household, then I can make a video on that if anybody's interested on that. I know that there are so many 3D printing channels out there already, which is where I've been learning everything from. So I don't really need to add to that because there are amazing resources out there already. But if you want to see someone who doesn't really know how to 3D print stuff, learn the journey and learn how to do it along the way, then let me know, and I can look at making a video like that. So yeah, little Pikachu turned out quite well. So that's going to be a little mascot. I don't think I'll add it to the scene. That'd be a little bit weird if I just had a Pikachu sat there. So I won't add it to the scene, but I just wanted to share that because we're waiting for my Apple Pencil to charge. We got some message retracted. That's okay. That happens. Any tips on starting an Instagram account? Love yours, by the way. Thank you very much. I actually have a YouTube video on how I personally got 20,000 followers as a creative on Instagram. So that's on my channel. That's available to watch. I think it's actually called "How to Get 20,000 Followers on Instagram as a Creative" or something like that. So if you go and search that, that's a great start. I think it was recorded like 2 years ago. So some things might be out of date. Okay, we're on enough charge. So some things might be out of date, but it's a good place to start, I think. So here we go. What I want to do is actually refine the AirPod because it's not quite right. So I can hide this for a little bit. Let's focus fully on the AirPod. It's a lot bigger than what I have sketched it. Like the actual in-ear piece, it comes up like a lot. And I was looking at this. Sometimes you need to take a step back with things and take a step back, look at it with fresh eyes afterwards, and then you can see where you've gone wrong on specific things. I don't think it's quite that high, maybe more like this. But another thing to note is I have not warmed up yet. Maybe I should warm up because I haven't been sketching in quite a while. And it's good to get the muscle memory back up and running. So what we do is these ellipses. And my chair is quite squeaky, guys. So if you can hear my chair squeak, I hope that the microphone doesn't pick it up. But if you can hear my chair squeaking, let me know and I can switch to a different chair. But for now, you can tell how rusty I am. Oh dear. So ellipses are a great way to warm up, to get the joints moving, recalibrate yourself in terms of where you're sitting on the screen, the relationship between, well, screen or paper, or if you're sketching on paper. So warming up is going to really help with accuracy, muscle memory. And I don't do it enough. I don't sketch enough. I don't warm up enough. That's on me. And when I first started doing these live sessions for these for this life drawing, still life, I keep getting those confused. Life drawing and still life, very different things. I'm doing still life. Life drawing is the drawing of human form, which is at art school normally like, You see it in the movies all the time. It's when people draw people naked. And YouTube won't like that if I do that on this channel. So we're doing still life, not life drawing. I've never actually been to a life drawing class. I nearly, the old company that I used to work for, the building that they were based in, where the office was, the building ran life drawing classes. And I nearly went to some, but I just didn't get around to doing it. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm sure you've all seen me do enough of that. Hey, long time no see. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a few weeks. I've been away learning things, listening to things, out of the spotlight. And I'm still learning and still listening to what's going on. But yeah, it's been a while, but I feel like I want to do some painting now. So yeah, we got this far. Oh yeah, what were we doing? We were doing the AirPod update. So yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you for tuning in. And if anybody has, any questions along the way about this art piece, about design, about my Instagram, anything, pop it in the chat. I can see it. So I think it's going to be more like that even. And there's something that comes up over here like this. Maybe even further down. Like that. This here. Yeah, I think that's probably better. Why is my laptop so loud? What have I got open? Nothing. Apart from the things I need for the streaming. It's warm. I think my laptop doesn't like how warm it is. I've got a fan in here, but in the UK, I mean, it's warm for the UK. It's like 19 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. 19 degrees Celsius. And my poor little MacBook. Yeah, that's probably a lot better, closer to what it is. And you know, there's some leeway. It's a painting. People, as long as people read it as correct, it hasn't got to be within the millimeter, you know. But maybe let's work on the AirPod today. Would you prefer me to work? Vote in the comments. Would you prefer me to work on the AirPod or work on the watch face and the watch strap? Let me know, because I don't mind. While you do that, while you let me know, I'm just gonna block in some color for the AirPod. I think this is the brush I was using. Wrong layer. Does anybody have a preference if I do the AirPod or not? And the other thing that's tricky, again, exactly the same as the AirPods case, is drawing a white product with highlights and shadows is always tricky without making it look dirty or mucky, or, you know, it's tricky to get. So that's the block in done. Let's block in some of the color for the watch. It's pretty dark. Let's reference a dark color over here, or that's pretty blue, and it's slightly titanium color, which is a little bit of a warmer. I'll do something more like that for this. And we're just going to block this in. That might all be a little dark. Let's lighten that up a bit. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to block everything in. And then later on, go and refine all the edges. Paint everything a lot nicer. Refine it all. It's going to be like super dark in there, I think. Just in that section in there. Make sure I can get a brush in there. Is everybody being shy in the comments today? That's okay. People just hanging out. That's cool. But if you would prefer me to paint the if you would prefer me to paint the AirPods, or if you would prefer me to paint the watch face first, let me know. I've been away for a while. I'm a little bit rusty. We normally get some cool chats going on in the chat, but maybe everybody's a little bit rusty and tired and whatnot, which is okay. That's going to become darker in there. I think there's a shadow that I need to capture just in here. Maybe it's not that dark, or maybe the whole thing inside is a little bit darker, I think, than the outside. The watch first. Okay. No problem. Welcome to the chat. So yeah, if there are any more questions or anything as we go along, I'm going to just answer those as we go. And I get there's also a little delay, a slight delay in when I say post in the comments. I think there's like a 20 or so, 30 or so second delay, which I get it makes me seem impatient when I start saying, come on, answer, talk to me. I get that you might have only just heard the original message. So I'm going to block in. And I don't know really how to paint in reflections. If I paint everything underneath the reflection and then add in the reflection on top, or do I paint the reflection on the base layer and just treat that as part of the the actual base layer of the painting. Like, for example, there's a pretty strong yellowish reflection that comes in like this, maybe even lighter than that, I think. It's like this. So do I paint that in? Yeah, I think I'll paint that in. Or actually no, I'll do it afterwards. We'll cheat. We'll take advantage of the digital elements and we can add that in afterwards as a layer adjust, or as an extra layer, I think. Okay, let's stop messing around. Let's commit to some shading in there. Hey everyone joining. Got a question coming in from Renuka. What was my first internship like? It was really good. I interned at Precipice Design, who have actually just rebranded as a they've almost became like a new company, I guess. But yeah, I was there for like 6 months, and I was lucky enough, very lucky enough, to get a job offer from it. I was in the right place at the right time. So the internship, I think, was... I don't even know how long it was for now. It was so long ago. 12 months? 6 months? It might have even been only 6 months. 12 months? I really can't remember, actually. I'd have to look at my portfolio and CV to double check how long my own internship was, because I forget, it was so long ago. But basically, I managed to get this internship while I was in university, and it was great because when I went back to the university to finish off my final year, I already knew that I was going to go back to that job, and I understand completely that I'm so lucky to be in that position, and that's not the normal for everybody. So it went well. I really enjoyed it. Let's get a reflection in here. Yeah, so Precipice, it's a product design agency and a branding strategy and all that good stuff agency. And yeah, I was there for like however long I was. I can't believe I've forgotten how long I was there for. Let me think. I had an 8-month contract. Wait, Precipice wasn't even my first internship. I was at a company called Paul Coxedge Studio as my first internship, which is Paul does bespoke lighting and art gallery exhibition. Like, it's more of an art studio than a mass-produced industrial design studio. So I was doing like art gallery pieces and installations and workshop stuff, which was fun. Very fun. And then, so I did 7 months there. And then I did, it must have only been 6 months at Precipice. Because of no, it was a year. Because I had a lot. I can't believe I've started to get to the point now where I sometimes forget my own age. I don't know if that's ever happened to people before, or what sort of point that happens to other people. But I'm 25 now, and sometimes I'll be talking about age, or sometimes I'll be talking about, you know, birthdays or whatever, and sometimes I'll have to stop and think like, man, how old am I? I've forgotten because I just stopped counting. And that's happening with my job now as well. So, yeah, my internships during school were very good, even if I can't remember how long I was there for. I was very, very lucky to get the experience that I could get. I know that it's not like that for everybody. And I was very involved at both companies. I wasn't just in meetings getting everybody coffee, or like, you know, some corporate places are like that. I think I was doing design work, and that's very rare sometimes in a internship. So yeah, I was very lucky. Yeah, no problem in doing these series. Sketches de Castillo. Castillo? I'm not very good with languages. I'm really sorry. I should do better. But yeah, I really enjoy this. You know, it's something a little looser than industrial design. It's something just there's no pressure to make this thing manufacturable, or it's just nice to be able to do these things. Do some painting like this. I probably should have defined the inside. So I'm painting to an edge that's like here. I probably should have put a pencil line down to define that a little bit more. I'm just guessing at the moment. but that's okay. I actually think that these highlights are a lot small, like they don't come around as much. Let's just erase some of it. I'll need to go back later on and make that edge a little bit more defined on the inside, I think. How are we doing if we turn all of the lines off? What I'd like to get to at the end of this painting is to be able to turn all the lines off and it looks like a finished painting. Right now, it's obviously still quite messy, which is okay. I kind of like this, you know, this line here. That's almost like the crispness that I would like in the rest of the painting. Maybe a little bit crisper than that. But I think we'll get there in the end, you know. Once we have the majority of the lines all in, I don't think it will take too long. You know what? Let's move that back a little bit just so we can give ourselves a little bit of so we can see behind what we're actually sketching. And actually, I think what's going to help is, yeah, I can pull in some really fine. There's like a lip, basically, and it's so fine in there. So that's the lip that I'm going to draw up to. What was the process behind getting the internships? I was very lucky that my university has a placement careers program, which basically means I get a year out of university, away from university, specifically to pursue internships. And that is an amazing way to have an education, because when I went back to do, you know, I learned so much in that year away. And when I went back for the final year, after the year of the internships, you know, a lot was changed, and it was great to get that experience. So I was very lucky to have an education that let me do that or let me pursue that. But that's not to say that the university gave me the internship. I still had to apply. I still had to send in my CV. I still had to send in my portfolio, do all the interviews, all the meetings. You know, I interviewed at a lot of places before I got, you know, I sent off so many portfolios and so many CVs. And I interviewed at so many places that I didn't end up working. So it wasn't easy to get an internship. And I feel for people that are trying to get internships now, especially now. You know, I understand that it's difficult. So yeah, I know it's tricky, but I know it's possible. You just got to keep at it. Keep applying, keep getting better. I'm going to start remaking my portfolio series after a lot of asking about it. What I'm going to do to kick off the series is to review my own portfolio. The portfolio that I currently, well, that got me my latest job, and I've been working on since. You know, a portfolio is never finished, and the best time to work on your portfolio is when you have a job. So yeah, I think that's going to be really fun to do. I'm going to film that tomorrow. And I've also been asking people on Instagram to send in their portfolios because I'm going to start doing the portfolio review series again, where I review people's portfolios that they've sent in. So that's going to be really fun as well. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to cheat a little bit. And head to my Instagram page to see how you can submit a portfolio. And then erase that. I want a slight definition. That's cheating. I know I said that I was gonna stick to one layer, but I've been doing this for like 5 episodes now. It's funny that I'm a big fan of Spencer at Sketch a Day, and I know he does a lot of live sketching and a lot of live streams. They're always popping up on the timeline, which is really cool to see. And sometimes I tune in, and he's sketching something like, I don't know, a truck or a whatever product, and then I'll have to go and make a cup of coffee, or I'll have some. I have to go away and come back like 10, 15 minutes later. And he's already on like his second or third sketch that he's just finishing off. That guy is so fast at sketching. And I've been here for like 5 hours, 6 hours painting this thing. I get the different style of sketches and I'm still learning, but it just makes me laugh. It blows my mind at how fast he can draw. Okay. Let's focus on this ring here. It gets pretty dark down there, actually, looking at it. So I'm always mixing in some form of color as well, ever so slight. There's never ever any pure white and pure black tones in a painting like this. Or they can be, but used sparingly. And the reason is because I've got a yellow light shining on it. I've got yellow light from the ceilings. I've got blue light coming in from the window to the left. And that's always going to cast different colored shadows. So, it's, to add to the realism, it's going to be good to add in those different colors as well. That gets quite dark up there. Okay, we're just going to give it some blue highlight. Just here. Because it's catching the window light ever so slightly. And that's going to make it slightly cooler. And there's a highlight just there that I'd like to bring out. And I can always go back and mute this. Just mute this a little bit. I think that's a bit too bright. Yeah. Let's dull that back a little bit. We'll keep some of it in maybe. Let's... We'll pick a color from between the blue and the yellow, and we'll pick right in the middle so we can start to blend it in together a little bit more. Something like that. Questions coming in. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's see. What are your favorite books, documentaries, or maybe articles on design that you would like to recommend? Oh, so many. So many. I like the abstract documentaries on Netflix, although it's quite well known that the abstract documentaries on Netflix are more like advertisements for those design studios. Like they're so glossy, they're so aspirational, they're so they're so shiny. Whereas design is a messy process. So I would suggest those documentaries on Netflix. I think season 1 of Abstract has actually been added to YouTube. At the start of the pandemic, I think Netflix did that so that people can learn things and be entertained by things without, opening it up to a lot more people. So I think season 1 is now available on YouTube. I think it's still available, which is nice. Gary Huswit obviously does a lot of... I say obviously, there's no obviously about it. Gary Huswit does a lot of really cool documentaries that I love, and I've chatted to Gary a few times on his live sessions about the documentaries, and I asked him what's his opinion on the Netflix series, and he said that the Netflix show actually used some of his videographers that he knows and trusts in the series without telling Gary. So there's a bit of sneaky talent acquisition going on. Anyway, I'm sure it's I'm paraphrasing and I don't want to put any words in his mouth, but yeah, so Gary Huswit stuff. In terms of books, there's always a long list of books you can read. I always recommend The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. And actually, Don Norman has just been part of a webinar on design education and designing for the elderly and reforming what needs to be reformed to help the design of the elderly, because the design for the elderly sucks, and so does education about design for the elderly. So I can't remember the company that hosted that webinar. But that was very recently. I'm sure if you search Don Norman webinar, June or March or whenever it was, 2020, I'm sure it'll come up. What else? I'm not a big reader, I'll be honest. I know that reading is important and stuff, but I'm not usually a big reader. I'd much prefer to watch things. I would much prefer to... I'll read articles and stuff, but there's something about a book that I get scared by, I think. Let's see, where is slightly darker up here? So yeah, I hope that points you in the right direction for a few things. There's also the Design in Process series that I started, but didn't finish, I'll be honest. I started the design a series called Design in Process. And it was meant to be me designing one product from start to finish each week, slightly more stuff designed. And at the start of that series, I covered some design theory stuff, which I think was pretty handy. So if you want to go and watch those earlier videos, that's pretty cool. The thing is, I've carried on designing that product. I just haven't been making videos about it, because what I found was whenever I was designing the product, I was always so self-conscious about what's going to be in the video, what's going to, I was doing so many things. I was presenting, I was editing, I was doing so many things when actually I just needed to take a step back and just design the product. And I've got a lot further with that now. So what I might do, just to cap off that series, is make one final summary of like in the 8 months or so since I've last done this series, here's everything I've done since then. And I might do that just to cap it off, even if nobody watches it, because it's a series from like 2019 or 2018 or whenever. It's just nice to finish off that thing. So yeah, I might finish off that series. Let's see. What other... I'm a little bit reluctant to put all the white markings, like the numbers and stuff. All of these little bits are going to pick up on that blue, I think. Maybe not so much for some reason up here, but I'll just sneak some in. Like that. There. Yeah. This could be blended out a little bit more. So we pick a color that's in the middle and blend that out a little bit. There we go. And I can just push that a little bit more and then clean that up in there. Yeah, okay, we're getting there. Let's tackle the outer case, and then I'll come back to do all the white fiddly bits maybe later on. I think I've missed some questions. Have I missed some questions? Books again, I need a Q&A. People always ask me about books, and I'm always ashamed to say I don't read a lot. I have design books that I've flicked through, I've skimmed, and I've got like the gist, the main points of it. But, yeah, I'm really bad for that. Are you still... Sounds great, Sam. Are you still standing by the PDF format? Are you going to... Oh, for the portfolio review, for now, I'm saying PDF. I'm not really... I guess it might be different. From what I've heard, a lot of people in the US only really do online portfolios now. Whereas for me in the UK, and people have messaged me saying, hey, you know, in the US, we do only online portfolios now. Can you do that? But for me in the UK, an online portfolio is not as common, and it's still PDFs. And all the companies that I've ever applied to, and I've applied to a lot, have asked for PDF. So that's why... I've said that just because what I'm used to, but maybe I'm getting old. I've been out of university for like 3 years. Maybe I'm old and it should all be online now. The tricky with having an online portfolio and trusting students with an online portfolio is when I was a student and I first bought a domain to have an online portfolio, you know, it's a lot of money to upkeep. It's you know, you have to buy the domain, you have to buy the URL, buy the hosting, all that. And trusting students with money is tricky. And I know from my experience, I got like a year because it's discount, like on your first purchase, get a year free or whatever. And then when it came to renewing, it was like, okay, I either eat this week or I renew my portfolio. And you know, I had to eat. So at that point, if anybody wanted to contact me, if I'd have sent off my portfolio months beforehand, but I didn't fit that company, but then all of a sudden the project came in, and I fit the bill, they're gonna head to that website and it's not gonna be there. So PDFs are just a lot more reliable, especially with students when they're going through so many life changes. You know, it's... Anyway, that's probably making up my own excuses for my shortcomings, but that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to just be facetious or just to be tricky or just to catch everybody out. I do it because that's what a lot of employers ask for. I've never been asked for an online portfolio. I've always been asked for a PDF. It can be stored, it can be archived, it can be searched on a server. There are so many benefits to a PDF. What I would suggest is you need both. You need an online portfolio and you need a PDF portfolio. I have both. I suggest you have both. Whatever company is going to ask if a company turns around and asks you for one, you've got it. You haven't got to panic. You know, if they're very adamant about the specific type that you need, then you don't have to panic, which I think a lot of people are doing now that I've specified PDF portfolio. So that's my reasoning behind it. I hope it's not too harsh on everyone. And I get that deadlines are about, and you know, I don't think the university year has finished for everybody. So I get that. But yeah, for now, so in answer to the question, that's a long way to say, for now, I'm sticking to PDF. And that's not just like, if I review somebody's PDF portfolio and it's not yours, don't forget, you can use that exact same advice as well, you know? And I say that to people, like, just because I didn't review your specific portfolio in the series doesn't mean you can't use that advice. And what I've said to people is I want them to submit a portfolio that they think I can't fault. I gave a lot of advice in the first season, and the reason why I stopped doing the portfolio reviews is because I just felt I was giving out the same advice every week. And I thought, you know, if I've already captured it in one video, then it's captured. And I don't need to capture it again. And if people want to see those hints, they can go back to see it. So that's why I stopped. So now, if I'm starting up again, I really need to make sure I'm not just giving out the same advice week after week, because people, like, why are people going to keep tuning in to that series if every week I just say, add a nice render here, you know, or something along those lines. So what I want to do in this season is to first off kick off the whole season by reviewing my portfolio as someone who has been in the industry now for 4 years. I have a portfolio that is a lot more advanced than it was when I graduated. That's a given, you know, that's going to happen. So I'm going to review my own portfolio, put a stake in the ground, and say, this is the competition. The last job that I got was a junior designer position, even though I've been out of uni for 3 or 4 years. 3 years. It's been two and a half years. 3 years. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to review my own portfolio. I'm going to film that tomorrow, hopefully post it tomorrow, and take it from there. But yep, I am moving forward going to review everybody else's portfolio, which I think is going to be fun. All of that is to say, just PDF for now. That was the original question. Just PDF for now. So that's going to get darker in there, I think. Maybe a little bit darker. It's casting quite a dark shadow. That whole area is pretty dark. And then there's like adding in some, there's like that shape going on, I think. And then we need a light warm color for a highlight to go in there. Very thin highlight. But not as harsh as that, actually. It's a bit softer, but the central. Yeah, something like that, I think. And then I can just darken this up to separate out the... separate all of that out. What's going on up here? Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Just pixel pushing, I think, at the moment. It needs to be done sometimes. A lot of the later stages of this drawing will be just highlighting specific edges. So if I turn off the pencil lines, you can still make sure that, yeah, it's pretty well defined still. Okay, I'm getting happy with that, I guess. What else? Not that one. That one, let's add in some depth to... It gets really dark in there. Oh, I was on a different layer. Merge down. Let's see. There's a very dark, very thin shadow. It kind of does this. So with that very dark element, what I'm hoping, this seems very dark at the moment, but what I'm hoping is once I add in a dark element, that's like the stake in the ground. That's like this is the darkest point, and then we can work up from there, and that'll start to blend that dark element in as well. So we want to make sure that that's darker in there. And this all gets dark down there too. I'm just thinking, dangerous. Another thing that I find a little bit tricky about online portfolios, and especially people like saying, review my Behance portfolio and stuff like that. Behance is a social media platform. And when you send people to Behance, when you send clients to Behance, if you want them to hire you, when you send employers to Behance saying, check out my portfolio, you are sending them to the social media channel, the social media page where everybody else is. That's where your competitors are. So to say, hey, go and check out my portfolio on Behance, guess who else is on Behance? Everybody else, one click away. And it's just, that's not to say that, if you're confident enough in your own skills, you can go up against everybody else on Behance. But it's just something else that I think is an extra benefit of sending over a PDF. You're in control. You're in control of the way that the pages are laid out. That's another reason I think for a portfolio to be PDF format. Give that some shape, I think. Take this color highlight. There's a slight highlight in there. It's a bit brighter because on metal, the highlights are going to be a lot sharper. Something like that. Just to give the indication of a highlight in there. And there's also, I don't want this to be really thin, but just give that highlight to the piece in there. That's going to add in a lot, I think. When we start to put in little tiny details like those pop highlights, I think that's going to be really helpful to really help with the realism. And that's always my favorite bit in any sketch, whether it's an industrial design sketch, a painting like this. You know, you kind of get the whole, you get like the block colors in. It looks fine. It looks okay. You go in, you add in the tiny little highlights that you would never even think to include, and it just transforms the whole piece. I really enjoy doing those. More questions I think I'm missing. I'm missing some questions. PDF in Germany too. Yeah, I think PDF is a good thing. And my advice is always have both. Like my online website portfolio and my PDF portfolio are pretty much the same thing. Just one is in a document and one is on a website. You know, if you've already written all the text, if you've already written all the copy, you don't need to rewrite it all again. Just repurpose it. This brush is a little bit unpredictable sometimes. I'm using wet acrylic for no reason other than I was just messing around in one of these streams, deciding what sort of style to go for, what sort of vibe, and I just decided to use this brush. But sometimes it's a little bit unpredictable in terms of where it puts paint down and stuff like that. You need brighter than that and a bit yellower. Especially if I'm trying to cover large areas. How's that? Getting there, I think. Yeah, it's probably okay for now. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna save some of this like fiddly stuff, like all in here. This all needs like actually defining. You know, it's just a bit of a blobby mess in there at the moment, so that can all be defined at a later stage. But I think we're on the right tracks, and adding in some of those details early on now tells us that we're on the right tracks. We can just carry on. Let's see. Let's finish off. I've just seen the time. It's 7 o'clock. I've been here for an hour. People are still hanging out. People are still tuning in. That's cool. So I guess you folks are enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. But at some point, I will need some dinner. I will need some lunch, some tea, for UK slang. So I'm going to stick around for as long as I can. But I'm sure my girlfriend in the other room is getting really hungry as well. I don't want to get in the way of her and her food as well. So I'm just going to block in some more colors and take any more questions. So if you have any more questions, if you want to keep me hanging out for a while, I'm more than happy to answer some more questions. So pop them in the chat. It's always good to answer stuff. I really enjoy helping, passing on as much information as I can. Let me know. That can be questions about portfolios, can be questions about work life. Let's see. That gets really pretty warm there, actually. Just on this bit here. Maybe not that warm and light. Although maybe. Yeah, I think it does. And then it goes back to neutral. Maybe a little bit darker, just here. And then actually it has some blue up on this side. Oh, not that blue, more like this. Just ever so slight different color changes are gonna really help something like this. Let's see. Oh, I've been missing some questions. I've been asking for questions, but I've also been missing some questions as well. So Matt asks, what is your main way of increasing your skill? Maybe not books, maybe YouTube channels or websites. Yeah, a lot of forums are great. YouTube, I watch so much. I watch a lot of YouTube, and it made me laugh because when YouTube first started to release how many hours of watching people were doing, like, you know, you can go into your stats and say this week you watched like 3 hours of videos, 10 hours of videos, and everyone was saying, oh my god, like, it's so awful how much YouTube everybody's watching, it's crazy. And I was thinking, hang on, like, YouTube's amazing, like, why is everyone so stressed about how much YouTube their kids are watching? And then I remembered, like, oh yeah, Jake Paul exists. You know, all these YouTube people exist that are considered YouTubers, whereas I just watch YouTube for like educational. You know, my channel is the channel I would love to watch on YouTube. That's what I watch. So it's just funny that YouTube is great for so many things, and has so many purposes. One of which is entertainment, but one of which is education as well. So I would definitely recommend watching YouTube. I can offer people 2 free months of Skillshare. All of my videographer skills, all of the ways that I've learned on how to make videos has come from Skillshare. So even though I advertise it a lot on Instagram, it is by no means just a way to make money for me. It is 100% a way that I personally learn. I don't have any classes on Skillshare, but I learn a lot on there. And yeah, so things like that. If you want to head over to my Instagram page, you can get 2 free months by checking out the story highlights. Justin Bridges is a great Skillshare channel for learning photography and stuff like that. So I recommend Justin Bridges and so many more. But yeah, just to keep involved in the community, I think is a great way of learning more about design. No matter what that takes shape as, you know. I'm going to need a lot more brightness in here. It's looking really muddy. Let's really give it some... more like this. It's got like a... it's looking quite muddy, but on the... I don't want to make it look too shiny because it's a titanium, like... it is slightly matte. But there is definitely... some shine going on. I just get rid of some of that shine there. Neutral a little bit more. Yeah, it's probably getting there. Maybe it's not even colorful enough. Like this, I think should probably be like that. Maybe. Like it's pretty colorful light bouncing off. Just warm that up a little bit. Warm that whole area up and then go back in and tone it back. Just bring it back into the body a bit. So it doesn't just stick out like a sore thumb. Maybe like that. Is it like that? That might have to wait for next week to sometimes it's just best to take a step back, wait a week, come back, and then realize, oh, okay, that's where it was off, because I look at it with some fresh eyes and all that stuff. Right, some more questions. I know that I had some questions in here. YouTube channels. We're actually there's a really exciting thing. If you go and check out Jimmy at Jimmy Hoing, I don't know actually how to pronounce his second name. That's embarrassing. Jimmy. If you search industrial design, Jimmy will pop up. The quintessential industrial designer on YouTube. Go and watch his latest, or maybe it's not even his latest video. It's a YouTube 7-question industrial designer challenge, and there's a whole bunch of us on YouTube that have we're all banding together to make a design challenge, question and answering challenge for everyone, and we're all going to post our answers all together. So, and then link, and it's going to be a big thing. It's going to be a big thing. It's really exciting. It's coming up at the end of the month. So, we're hoping that it's going to generate this sort of community feel. There's probably like 20 or 30 industrial designers that you can all go and follow. So, I can't wait for that. It's going to be really exciting. I need to ask Jimmy how to pronounce his second name. That's really embarrassing. And I apologize. Like if you've only seen a word written down and then you go to say it, like even objects, you go to say it and you're like, oh man, how do you say that? Let's see. Which brush do you regularly use? I am actually using Spencer's Sketch-A-Days. Here we go. Sketch-A-Days brushes a lot these days. Normally, I just stick to the standard Procreate brushes, whether that's the pencil pack or inking and stuff like that. Procreate has some pretty damn good brushes in there. Yeah. How do you... Yeah, Skillshare. Absolutely recommend that. Go for it, Matt. And also the 2 months free thing. It's 2 months for free, and you can cancel at any time. So you can use those 2 free months, and then you don't have to pay for the 3rd month because you can cancel it before it starts. So, it's completely free. Just want to throw that in there. So if you want to go and check out the Instagram story highlights on my channel. How do I make portfolios? Yeah, I use InDesign. InDesign, I think, is the go-to for documents, the go-to for things like that. So yeah, InDesign is the one that I use. Is that going to look weird? I'm going to need some time to figure out this highlight, I think. To paint it in like that, I think is going to be a bit weird. Just to paint it over everything, is it? Let's see. Does it work to do that? And then if I have that on a different layer, at least I can go in and add in the white details afterwards. How's that? It might be a bit much, so let's just get rid of some on this side, I think. Yeah, I think that's okay. Oops. Yeah, okay. Any more questions? Just while I wrap this up. Can we add any more? What I normally do after these sessions is I post where we got to on Instagram. and I say, I just finished the live stream. And it's always nice to be able to show a lot of progress. And I think we've done a lot in this specific, this very specific section. But overall, maybe we haven't done as much as I would have liked. I might do the buttons. Let's think about the buttons real quick. If we got this white, I'm gonna add a highlight in there. Some highlights in here because it's got some knurling. Oops. So I can just give it a texture in there. It's going to be nice. And where is it over here? Something like that. And there. Painting. You know the kind of spirally effect it gets? Some of that in there. Okay, so any more questions? I'm going to finish off these buttons, and while I finish this off, some last burning questions that I won't answer until next week. If you don't ask it now. Going to finish off these buttons. We'll give them some definition at least. It's the start, I think, of some definition. It's really quite dark down there, though. It's coming along. What's happening over here? It gets quite dark in there. Quite dark here. Okay, more questions I think are going through. Hey Sam, finished my studies in industrial design 2 years ago. Finished my studies in industrial design 2 years ago. In my country, there are no ID studios, and it's very difficult to find a job as an industrial designer. Any advice on online work or opening my own studio? I'm actually doing some freelance work for a company at the moment. I'm not an expert in trying to find clients like that. In this scenario, they found me. They knew about my rendering stuff, so that's a benefit of having something on Instagram like this. My advice would be to, well, there's a YouTube channel that can help a lot more than I think I can. And the YouTube channel is called The Future. Spelt like normally The Future, but without the E on the end. So it's like The Future. And I'll be honest, they give out a lot of inspirational, fluffy advice that is like inspirational, businessy talk that I don't really appreciate so much. But sometimes they really give out some gems on how to find clients, how to work remotely, stuff like that. So I'd recommend going to give that channel a watch. Maybe that can help you. I think that can help you more than I can help you, because I'm not in the same, you know, I don't want to give advice having not been in that situation, you know? I hope that helps. I hope The Future can help you out. And I hope you can withstand some of the cringe-worthy, inspirational, fluffy business talk that they do sometimes. But yeah, that would be my advice. I think go and check out some business. It's not just about being a designer. At that point, it's about being a business owner, and a lot of people don't appreciate that it's about running your own business. So yeah, I hope the future can help you, and I hope that's not, I don't want to just refuse to answer, but I don't want to give out advice that I can't make sure is true, I hope that helps, even if it's not a real answer. Who else? I'm sure there are so many good business, not just the future. I'm sure there are so many good business how-tos to follow and stuff, which is really important. And as I start to do more of this, and as I start to do more of my own thing, I'm going to need to watch a lot more of those as well. I want to push this blue a little bit more, and then, okay, I keep saying, and then it will be the end, but this time it's going to have to be, I think. Just add in a pop. Just a pop of blue. But smooth. Transition smooth. I've been on that layer. You know what? I can fix it because I haven't overlapped anything yet. Cut and paste that. Yeah. Take that down. Flatten that group. Yeah, okay. We're on the right layer now. Which means I can go underneath the reflection because the reflection is on this layer. And just add in some more of that blue that we've lost because I've added a yellow on top. Yeah. Okay, I think it's getting there, It's taken a long time to paint that small part of the watch face, and I think for the watch face, we're only about halfway through. There's so many more details to put in this watch face. But we're getting there, I think. I think it's starting to, particularly the base of the coffee maker. I think the AirPods case is pretty much done. There's not a lot of detail in that. The AirPod we've blocked in. That'll be maybe next week. And the watch face we will continue with next week as well. So I think we're getting there. I'm really enjoying doing these sessions. It's good to have seen so many people tuning in and asking questions. Thank you so much. It means a lot. I can make my face bigger now that I've stopped sketching. Just as I sign things off. There we go. To show off my new glasses and to show off the Samplers Design merchandise available on Teespring as well. Ta-da! So, thank you so much for tuning in. One last question. How do you know the design that you did is a good design? You know what? I was going to try and answer that question. But that's coming up in our design YouTube channel collaboration with as many industrial designers we can find, being posted in a few weeks' time. So watch out for that, because one of the questions that we're going to answer is, what do we think is good design? So watch out for those videos popping up. They're going to pop up everywhere. It's going to be really cool to see. So I'm going to hold off on answering that question for now, because I'm going to dedicate a lot more time to it in that video when I answer that question specifically. So I don't want to say no to answering it, but I will answer it in its own video. I'm going to give that question its own video. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. These sessions are really fun to do. Don't forget, the best way you can help me out is to share these videos with a friend. Share any of my videos with a friend and say, hey, I really enjoy watching this video. That's the one thing that can help me out the most. So thank you all for tuning in. This is going to stay on YouTube. It's going to be uploaded to YouTube when it's finished processing. So if you want to go back and either listen to some of the answers that I've said, or to go back and see how I painted some of this stuff, you can go back and do that. All of the previous sessions are already on YouTube. So if you tune in today and you really liked the way that this session went, you can go back and watch those videos. And yeah, so thank you all for tuning in. Share this video with a friend if you like. And I will see you next week for a live session. I've got some videos that I will be posting during the week as well. Some portfolio reviews and some sponsored. I'm working with Gravity Sketch to share some really exciting stuff with you folks as well. So thank you for tuning in. I will catch you next week. Like and comment and subscribe and the bell button and everything else that YouTube asks you to do. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.